Cavalier faithful, welcome on in to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. It's Jeffrey. Justin is here with me as well. No Logan tonight, actually in attendance for Game 2. So Cleveland Pulse representing in the building in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse tonight. Game number 2, Justin. Game number 1, we're going to talk first about that.
Absolutely.
I don't think it could have went, particularly any better as far as the Cleveland Cavaliers are concerned, taking that commanding and just more importantly, like convincing, game 1 victory to go up 1-0 on the series. We got game 2 tonight, though. It's not that like we could take our foot off the gas. We were talking about this earlier. You have to. Orlando's job is to take one of these games. Okay, you fail in game 1. You still got an opportunity to steal one on the road. Go back to Orlando feeling okay. We talked about it a lot. We're gonna get into it here today. If you're here on the live stream, we appreciate you. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're letting us know. How do you guys feel about this game? Are we feeling just as we good after pre-game 1? Are we feeling even better after game 1? I love hearing everyone's thoughts about this series so far.
I feel like you gotta feel a little bit better after game 1.
Gotta feel better. You got like you got the worries out, and you kind of the playoff woes of last year. It definitely is. It started a lot better this year.
Well, and I just think that because of how they did it is the biggest point. Like, they looked like what the Knicks looked like against us in game 1 of last year. Like, it just kind of felt like, in the series in general, it just felt like they were the more dominant team. They had that, coaching. They had, what you talked about in our, pre-run up to this, where it was just kind of like at almost every big point, like coaching, star players at contributing times, making plays. They were just better at it. And that's kind of what's happening right now, where I think, the Magic, they ranked very well in, I think, percentage-wise, rebounding categories and just rebounding in general, also defensively and points off of like turnovers. And, in that third quarter, I believe that's when they went on that little spree of turnovers on us, and they kind of capitalized, brought it back a little bit. And then, obviously we weathered a little bit of a storm there. But yeah, it just felt like at no point were they going to have that like huge offensive resurgency to ever bring the gap back into a distance where you're like, ooh, okay, let's get the starters back out there right now.
I mean, you played them exactly how you wanted to. Let's just take a look at the box score, really quickly here. I mean, you have balanced scoring from the starters. Strus only has 7 points, but he has 9 rebounds. I know that's something you've been pounding the table for. Somebody at the guard position stepping up and rebounding the basketball. You could give that award to Max Strus in game 1. I think that kind of, went under the radar that he had that many boards. But perfect. Absolutely love it. I do enjoy welcome on in J Boogie and MZC alike. I do enjoy that you did not give them any hope in game 1. Like, I think that you have to kind of stick with this mantra and go from there. Because like you said, there were some runs where they, it was a 4 or 5 point game in the second half of that game, but we always responded. It was punch, counter punch, and it seemed like we kind of threw the hardest last punch and took it away in the fourth quarter, obviously. Justin, what stands out to you from this box score and just overall from game 1?
Well, obviously, it's got to be the starters just completely doing what needs to be done, and why you kind of just remember why you go out and get Max Strus. Talk about the 9 rebounds. Listen, the first play of the game is quite literally, hey, Max Strus, we designed this play. This is why we brought you in. And boom, goes in. And then, he doesn't contribute more to the scoring punch of this game. But if you remember the series against the Knicks, Josh Hart just completely changed the game by going out and getting double-digit rebounds every single contest. And it really affected the game. Strus being that guy and, Evan and obviously Jarrett completely dominating the boards is a huge thing for us to keep going forward. But you'd like to see guys like Harris and Okoro also adopt that little mantra of like, hey, we need to just be crashing the boards at all times, whether it's offensively or defensively. But, even when you're talking about, Max not contributing to the scoring punch too much, you look at Darius not shooting particularly well already. Actually, that's not true. He is shooting. By technical terms, he is shooting well. It just looks like it's not all that great. but he is the main assist leader right now in the series with 8. And I think that's pretty handedly too. I think the next guy isn't even at 5 for the Magic. So have to be checked there. But you got to love the facilitating. He's not obviously feeling it from a shooting point, but his dishing and I think he would have had 10 assists that game, a double-double, had guys like Karras or Niang knock down any of their shots, but that's also another point to be brought up where the bench really did not contribute all that much offensively. Everyone kind of just had an off night. Niang, I thought, shot 7 or 9 shots that he missed, and LeVert, same thing, either 7 and 9 for both of them or some odd number. Isaac didn't really shoot the ball that much. I kind of saw a little bit of hesitation from him. There were a couple of times I thought I saw him in the corner where he'd get the ball and he'd have, that kind of second that, in the regular season, he was letting it fly. Now it's the postseason, and he's kind of, I think he's like, oh, Sam's here, George is here, and Strus is here. Those are the guys who should be hitting those shots. Not saying it's anything to be like concerned about. It's something that if at the end of the game we can't make a substitution and he's got to be in there, the ball's going to come to you if you're open, and sometimes you got to make a big shot. But again, the bench not really contributing offensively very well. Defensively, we played the kind of basketball we were playing like last year, where we were number one defensive team last year. And I think that's something that we always had the potential to do, but starters constantly being out of the rotation, never being healthy at the same time, we just never really got to see this kind of dominant performance. And, now to have a series and have most of your guys back, Dean Wade, he'd obviously contribute defensively to this group, but, what it is right now is just something beyond words. So,
yeah. So, Dean Wade's still going to be injured for at minimum this game. Obviously, you don't have Ty Jerome. Everyone else pretty much available, but my game balls for this first matchup, pretty much like you said, go to every starter. Mobley, spacing the floor. Strus, grabbing 9 rebounds. Jarrett Allen, massive double-double. Not like a 10 and 10, not like a 12 and 10. 16 and 18. 30 points from Don, exactly what you expect. And then DG just making sure everyone stays involved. If you could get him, and that's fine for this series. Like, I think everyone is under the agreement that he has to be Darius has to be one of the best players on the court if we want to like make a finals push and, contend in a highly contested Eastern Conference Finals. But you have to get there first. So if Darius is playing, somewhat of a limited role as far as the starters, just looking at the minutes distribution, plays the least amount of the starters. If he could figure himself out in that role, that's fine. And that's going to lead you to success. Make sure that he, is the primary facilitator, which he was in game 1. Interestingly enough, I think here's your big one right here, 33-26 in the first quarter. Then the defense just kicks it up from there. 15 points and 17 points in the second and third quarter. Absolutely unbelievable, kind of riding that home crowd.
You just force them to play the game that they don't want to.
Yes.
They're not a great three-point shooting
37 threes. Like this is what I think is going to be interesting, because I think it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely that the box score looks like this again tonight. I think we could see another game this series where it looks like this, but Cavs 26.7% from 3.
Right.
That ain't very good. But the Magic 21%, that's terrible. Missed 11 free throws.
That's something that will
I don't think they're missing 11 free throws. Like they're 28 of 86 from the field. Absolutely abysmal numbers here. And at some points, like I said, this perfect start. I don't think that you could have asked for a better game 1, but you can't thinking, sitting there in that game 1, you're kind of thinking like, hey, if the Magic were to start making some of these shots, it gets really, really interesting. But like I said, I thought the defense was there. I thought the offense did exactly what they needed to do. Not a barn burner by any means, 97-83. But if this is Cavs basketball in the playoffs, that's something you could live with if it results to, putting wins in the series column. But you out-rebound them by 14. They do have one more offensive rebound than us. Not loving that, but you kill them on the defensive rebounding battle. Way more assists. blocks, steals, 17 turnovers, and we still win. So I think there was some definite improvements that could be made from both sides as far as game one, but Cavs outmatched them.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the refs for the most part, just letting them play for a good portion of the game. I think obviously towards the end there, you always get that little bit of tic-tackiness, but I was very impressed with it. I thought the Cavs are going to definitely need to get into the paint a whole lot more. Obviously, Donovan does a crazy job of just acrobating into the paint, passing the ball after he's gone up in the air and everything, or putting it down or getting it up. Going into this next game, though, I just know that the Magic are going to have this, not game plan, but just kind of this energy of like what you said, Jeff. They have to get one in their minds to have a sniffing chance of, winning this series. If they go down 2-0, I'm pretty sure I'm feeling it at this point where, if it's a performance like last time, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm even sitting here just wondering like, hey, are we going to get any changes in the rotations in terms of, are we going to see new personnel? Are we going to see minutes fluctuate for certain guys? I obviously, we have our group message and everything. We've talked about it, and I've already said it that, I think a guy like Caris LeVert needs to take a little bit less of a minute share here. And Merrill, they did kind of the thing that I said leading up to this, where it's like, hey, give him 3 to 4 shots, and depending on if he goes 2 for 4 or 1 for 4, yank him for 1 for 4, 2 for 4, keep him in, but they did 0 for 2.
Yeah.
Kind of just pulled him at 4 minutes, and unfortunately didn't really give him any other chances while we had a good lead. And there was a point in that game where we were just shooting the ball. We were just shooting threes for no reason, and we could have used it.
Yeah, so. We had some offensive possessions in game one where I was like, is that a quality offensive possession? And the answer was no, sometimes.
Even I said they were chucking at some point. Yes. I don't typically say that.
Honestly, it'll be interesting tonight because it's reported that, DG has some back soreness. Like, you're going to be banged up throughout these games during this series. But I think what you're talking about is, Orlando's the 5 seed. So you're on the road. It's pure mathematics. You have to win a road game. So you might as well kind of throw the kitchen sink at the Cavaliers earlier rather than later. Like, you could play kind of the same way you did in game one, and maybe you lose, and then maybe you go to Orlando and you win both of those games. And it's 2-2, but what if you don't? Like, you have to plan for what if you don't, especially if you're the underdog, I think, starting out on the road. Like, I think you're going to see a totally different game plan from Jamal Mosley and the Orlando Magic tonight. I think you're even going to see more physicality, which I think they threw a lot at us in the first game, which I wasn't surprised that it was happening. I was somewhat more surprised of just how they went about it. Like, I didn't really think it was going to be like, basically Mo Wagner being dirty. Like, I didn't think any, like, they gave somebody a flagrant. I don't remember who. I don't know if that was Suggs or who they gave the flagrant, but
I'm pretty sure it was Suggs on the Niang.
You had some plays in the first game where I was like, I don't even know if that guy's going for the ball.
Yeah, and I think you were even like, that's soft, but like,
I thought the flagrant was soft.
The way they defined the damn rules in this game.
They called that though to calm stuff down. Like, they called it like that, so because they knew it was getting a little out of hand, which is fine from the refs if that's their motive.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this team's just, again, we talked about it outside of Banchero. They really don't have anyone who's going to be like setting the world on fire. Now, again, I think at the point towards the end of the game here in this last one, you saw a little bit of that from Wagner. And I'm like, it's just one of those ideas of like, hey, we have the defense to make it work, and they're just not known for it. They're just not known for the 3. So
right.
You got to play to your strengths. I think the size matchup was just like, we talked about it. They're big, but they didn't use any of that advantage against us. Like, it's just trying to figure out what they're doing. And it's just like, again, you keep going back to it. The comparison's there for a reason. It's just very similar to last year, where it's like, we had no answer for what we could do offensively when Donovan's not going, or when Darius isn't dropping 33, It's like, yeah, there's not a whole lot. And especially like when you can't run a play last year, like Max Strus to open the game up. Like, who are you going to do that with? Danny Green, maybe, but he's supposed to be the upgrade from that. So Chetty, oh god,
but like
he's gonna be playing.
Game one's the embodiment though. Like they have to. I think Orlando has to play basically like A-, A grade basketball, and then we still could win games. Like I think we kind of played like B+ hoops in the first game. Like, like I could give us an A-, B+ A-, but like, could we have played a lot better and beat them by 25? Absolutely. Like, not that we played bad. I'm not saying this. I think we played really good for game one of the first round, especially coming off of last year. But I mean, the Jay Boogie, kind of a good point. We won by 16. They had 11 missed free throws. Like they have to play so good to be, in striking distance with us. If the game, the games go like game one, if they're going to get behind 10, 12 points, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to kind of claw to that lead. And I think that's something that you've seen the Cavaliers do at a really high level this year is, hey, come back from big deficits. We've seen it before. We've seen us sell some, big leads too. But I think that this team just doesn't have the Orlando team. You have Joe Ingles, who I think could have 6, 7 3-pointers in a game, something random where he goes nuclear. I know they have guys who like Jonathan Isaac wants to be kind of like a space the floor type of guy who could also get rebounds, but he's going to have to shoot extremely well for that to really, be pertinent. And then, like you said, their bigs. I wasn't overly impressed with how their bigs operated in the paint. I didn't think there was any dazzling post moves. I think that Banchero could get to his spots and do what he wants. But besides that, I wasn't Mobley's getting cooked. Allen's getting cooked. Even Niang, I wasn't even Niang's kind of getting cooked.
Yeah, that 25 minutes was surprising from him.
I
mean, that's just
I don't know. Listen, I don't know if he plays that much if Dean Wade's healthy, though.
No, of course not. I mean, I think, again, that's one of those instances where you're hoping again, I got to pull up the stats. I just had them, but how many shots did he miss? 7 to 9, right? Him and Karras, either one of them was 7 to 9, and that's just not what's going to happen on a typical night. Typically, he's going to hit maybe 3 to 9 and get one third of that. Offensively,
Niang was 1 of 7, 0 for 4 from 3. LeVert was 2 for 8. So your LeVert Niang duo is 3 of 15, and I think that's people's reservations with playing those guys.
Exactly.
You won in spite of them offensively. Does LeVert do other stuff in the box score? Absolutely. Can Niang give you the hype and the attitude and the swagger aspect that's a little bit more intangible? I could see your argument for that, but if Orlando if Orlando's bench comes out and actually is serviceable, or if you win the first round and you play a Boston team in the second round, I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, and I don't like doing that, but I'm just 3 of 15 from half of your bench play, and Okoro only took 2 shots, Merrill only took 2 shots, so your bench shot 3 of 19 from the field. That just, and like you said, that could be turned around easily. I think you could see a game where our bench shoots 10 of 19 from the field, and we could blow, this Orlando team out, or we could just make sure that we win a game if their bench is playing good as well.
Yeah. And more specifically, the thing with Karras is that we talked about in the group message, having the nice rotation back of DG and Evan and Jared Allen and Donovan. But where does Karras LeVert fit in that and any one of that group? Because he's not a good enough facilitator to, work with Donovan, and he's not a good enough shooter to work with Darius. So either way, he's really just pounding the rock and taking really bad twos. That's my issue. If he's taking threes and he's missing them, all right, whatever. But I've seen Karras drill 5 out of 7 threes in a game and just go on fire. But when you're
he was good in transition game one. He had transition layups that he got to the line. He wasn't unopportunistic in every opportunity he have. I told people all year. I've told people since we acquired him, he would be one of the best players in the league 15 years ago. 2006 to 2009, he'd be one of the best players in the league. He's he's like an off-brand don't take this the wrong way. And if you're in the chat, hit the like button because I see 11 of you people in here. He's like a Dollar Tree like Dwayne Wade. That's what he reminds me of. Not as good, not as talented, but he's like, oh, I'm going to get to the block and, like you said, chunk up a 2, or I'm going to try to, make a tough layup. He's not as good as a finisher as Dwayne Wade. He's not as good at a lot of stuff as Dwayne Wade.
He finished the one layup very well. I'll give him credit for
transition. He's an athlete. Like, he's athletic. Like, I'm not opposed to him. But again, like you said, he's like what, 6'6"? Who's he? He's kind of a height miss. Who's he guarding? Suggs?
The same height. Him and Merrill are basically the same.
But we kind of knew that, especially with Merrill too. Like, we knew that he was gonna. At least I thought he would be on a short leash for sure. But like you said, if he hits 2 threes, we're not like if he goes 3 for his first 3 or 4 for his first 4. A couple things are happening. We ain't losing. It's very unlikely that we're losing if Merrill has 9, 12, 15 points and JB's playing them. Like, you got to live with your defensive mismatches depending on who's hot. If LeVert comes in and hits 3 or 4 threes, we're probably not losing, especially in this, in a style like this where Orlando isn't that good at shooting the threes. Midham's Brandon Roy. I don't know. He might be like, he's like Brandon Roy equivalent. That's probably better than Dwayne Wade.
You know what my thing is with Merrill now, and obviously he just until this year wasn't able to show it, but the gravity that he generates and something that we've talked about. The thing, Joe, I don't know if you've watched any of the LeBron, JJ Redick stuff, but
a little bit.
I thoroughly enjoy the nuance of that conversation. I'm glad that they did it because truly,
it's like in depth. It's like a little bit more than just like top of the level.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like Kobe would have done. Where like he's teaching about the game, and it's like I'm thoroughly enjoying this. And the one thing that like for JJ Redick that I like about him is like he's very modest about his career, where he's like, yeah, I wasn't really like a great player, but when I got to my spots, like people knew, they had to be on me. And he talked about getting into the playoffs and how for the Clippers, like they were like, hey, we're going to play 4v4 without you, like you're taking a whole guy away. And sometimes you're even taking the second guy away when they're trying to cover you on a pick, So just being able to generate that kind of like openness of the offense and getting other guys to just be, moving and getting to their spots, I think is so much more valuable than just having like, all right, top of the key, get carries to reset the offense. That's just kind of what he's there for most times. Or he's kind of like the bailout guy of like, all right, we're dribbling the clock out. We need someone to just take this shot.
And honestly, like if you want to talk strictly roster differences, like maybe the biggest roster difference from a year ago to now, like if you want to make that argument that we are just that much more improved, we're this much better over a year ago, that I'm obviously willing to listen to. And I think we have a better first round matchup, a lot of factors going into it, but you have a player on the court, or at least through the regular season. You might not see it this much this series, like we're talking about with Merrill, but you have a player on the court that always the defense is like, okay, we need to watch that guy. We need to watch that guy, whether it's obviously Donovan Mitchell, but I'm talking like 3-point specialists. Like you're out there defending this guy off the 3-point line. Strus, parlaying that over into like a guy like Sam Merrill. Like last year, you just didn't have that. You didn't have, where one defender has to streamline their thoughts of, I'm going to run this guy off the line. And then their second unit has to do it too. So I think it's just a totally different, kind of look from us. And we even talked about this during the regular season. Like even when we had Tim Smith on from St. Ed's, he basically said, your Cavalier formula some games is going to be not how many threes are you going to make, but how many threes are you going to take in order to make enough to win? Like that's how he would put it. Like you're not going to win some games unless you have a pretty good night from the 3-point line. The good thing about Orlando is I think you could do both. Like you could have a Mobley and Allen go for 40, or you could have a Strus, Don, Darius, combined for 14, 15 threes. You have options here, which is really nice.
Yeah, and I feel like the issue that the Magic face is just like they deployed, I think, just about everyone that they have on their roster that has played major minutes. And for us, we still have that reserve of like guys who have experience. Like Tristan, I think he provides valuable playoff minutes. He'll be like used in spurts. Same thing with Marcus Morris. I think that he's going to be one of those guys where like he's kind of like Merrill. Like if you get a good rotation out of him, you get a good couple of pluses out of him, he's going to be on the court for 10 minutes and provide actual, good minutes. But for the Magic, they just again, trying to work around what they can and cannot do. Shooting the three ball, like you said, how many threes are we willing to take? I think once we realized that they just weren't going to fall, we stopped taking them. That's why we stopped at 30. They had to go to 38. And again, I think
let them shoot.
We are easily the more superior 3-point shooting team. But when Niang's taking crazy threes and everyone else is,
it has to make sense.
Yeah, it's just I thought we played very mid. Like we were good. But in
there was a lot left in the tank. A lot left there.
And you love to see it. You just have to hope that they can unlock it, and it's not something that takes a whole series to tune up.
And honestly, it's just you need it's the most imperative time of the year where you need 4 good to great quarters of basketball, to win games. You can't have, and I think that if you want to do the formula was set. Game 1, you have a great first quarter, and then you have great second and third quarters defensively. But there was even moments in that Knicks series last year where I'm it's a 3 or 4 or 5 minute, spurt. And I'm this team looks this is the Cavs I know. Yeah. And then they would go 10 minutes looking like they didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs. Yeah. You have to find the balance here because teams are going to adjust. Teams might hit shots. Teams might make their free throws. And it could be a totally different game than game 1. But
I think
there was a 4-minute period in game 1, Justin, where the Cavs did not score.
Yeah.
You can't. You really can't.
I feel like that was the turnover period where they were just constantly
It's when Orlando got within 4 or 5, and they were hitting threes in that spurt. I feel like we are kind of run oriented. We go on a 12. We were going on runs, and they were going on runs. Our runs were just bigger and better and more prolonged. But you can't do that against teams that are playing at a high level or that just have a high level of talent.
I think we have pretty sustainable offense once we're flowing. My thing is when Evans, the thing, and I think he's someone who we just have not really talked all that much about, but he is quite literally improved so much and has gotten to that point now where he's not super, 3-point worthy of getting out there and really guarding, but when he knocks down 1 or 2 of them early and he gets us out to a lead and then we're capable of him going in and out.
Confidence.
Yeah, it helps the offense flow a lot better. But when you start off and Max dings that first shot off the rim and then the next possession down, we're turning it over or something. It's a different start to that game, and you're maybe not talking about having such a confident, win there. But everything's about runs, like you said, and I feel like the Cavs are pretty good at weathering most of them, if not just getting their own more so before the other team does. So,
well, let's kind of fully transition into that game 2 talk. Put out this tweet earlier over on X. Cavs keys to game 2. Number 1, keep defensive identity consistent. Number 2, react accordingly to any Magic adjustments from game 1. I probably should have put that at number 1. I was kind of grappling 1 and 1A because I just feel like our defense wins this game 1 pretty handedly. And then this is obviously the big one because that's where JB comes in, the coaching staff, scouting, whatever you may have. Number 3, win the scrap, rebounds, loose balls. I think that's just, you can put that for any playoff team. And then limit turnovers and make free throws. How many turnovers in game 1 did we have? 17 to their 12. So anything you want to add to this or just general thoughts?
Well, I definitely think that the thing that's tough with the turnovers is when they're kind of letting the scraping go a bit. Guys like Darius, guys like Strus, they end up with 4 or 5 of those turnovers, and it just kind of compounds into all right, again, there's that period of, I think, like Jeff said, maybe 5 minutes in the third quarter where they're just turning the ball over, and every possession that we have after a turnover, if we maintain the ball, is a miss, or we're doing something bad and not ending up with a great shot. And it's one of those things that trying to think offensively, like, how do you get out of the stints of like just chucking shots because you're turning the ball over, or you're trying to get onto a fast break so you can generate some offense, and again, just not taking the best case scenario of like, all right, let's settle it down. We know we have a better half court offense than they do. Let's get a Strus screen or, pop, whatever, and get back on track. But again, I think we weathered everything pretty well in this past game. Going into 2, my big key is just like, I don't know. I don't believe Donovan's going to have 30 again. I think you're very much going to see a considered effort on him defensively from the Magic.
Maybe some double teams.
Yeah, obviously some traps and everything. Again, though, but like Max and Sam, those two are guys. Once if Donovan is getting trapped and whatnot or doubled, you got to have those kind of shooters in where the ball gets in their hand and they're just popping it. Adjustments from JB also going to be huge. Like you said in the group message, Jeff, it's really easy to come off of a win and just be a little lackadaisical where, you're feeling confident in the previous game plan. Why change if it's not broke? And that's just not how it works in the playoffs. Every team's got to adjust. Every team's got to kind of see what a counterpunch can land on you and, adjust from that. So
interestingly enough, maybe interesting, maybe not. Orlando Magic head coach Jamal Mosley confirmed that it will be the same starting lineup for Game 2. Jonathan Isaac will be in the first 5 again. So I know hearing from Magic fans leading up to the series, they're
high on him.
It was likely they were going to start him over Wendell Carter because it just seems like he brings that much more to the table. Honestly, it kind of sounds like DG was – it sounds like DG was kind of up in the air for this game, but per Evan Damero, everything looks good. Cavs Darius Garland is set to play the 6:30 p.m. injury report. So I don't know if that was like a real thing, like if that just something to monitor. You don't really know if stuff is uber serious or he wasn't like moving great after.
Yeah, when he there was that turnover that he had, and it took a minute to like happen, like for them to get control of the ball, and you could see he like belabored a little, like even like thinking about running, and then once they had the ball, you saw him start moving. I'm like, ooh, like he's not.
It's back too. Back is,
and that's part tough. That's part of that's tough for him because part of his game is being quick with the ball and being able to get into the paint and either make a pass real quick or make the layup. So yeah, it's going to be again, but for me, if he's operating the offense, he's finding guys open, he's making enough happen that the offense is flowing. Fine. It is what it is. Everyone's got their role to play. And, Donovan, again, he was the scoring punch in this first one. It could always be Darius in this one. It could be Evan. It could be Strus, who knows? It could be Sam Merrill of all people or George Niang. So a lot of different options compared to last year. It's always the big thing.
And honestly, just like we've talked about, like just physical play. Okoro's getting like his face stepped on. Like there's going to be people on the ground. Like they're not. If Orlando could do something definitively better than the Cavs, like after just watching Game 1, I think it could be, the physical aspect of the matchup. Now I don't think that we, took anything from them and just went on with our lives. Like we fought back. There was some, pressure back on them as well, but. I think that's the one thing that they could maybe look to use as they did look to use it in Game 1 as far as the kind of the catalyst for, hey, are we going to get going based on how we approach the game as far as the physical aspect? Interestingly enough, Justin, every home team won the playoff opener. Kind of interesting. Wonder if when's the last time that's happened, but every team in every series that was the home squad went up 1-0 as far as the series lead. So interesting enough. But yeah, looks like same starting 5 for Orlando. Cavs obviously rolling out what we did in Game 1. It's been a fun stream here. Everyone in here chilling, hanging out. Make sure you guys hit that like button. MZC, J Boogie, appreciate you guys being active in the chat. Justin, what else you got for us?
Well, I'm just trying to find out, and obviously, there's not going to be any huge significant changes with the lineups for us, but I wonder moving forward in terms of like scenarios, if a guy like Darius goes and needs a break more than often, who will fill in terms of those minutes? And, I think JB If you look at the Magic minutes, Banchero played like 40, somewhere close to 40 minutes, and everyone from the Cavs, I think the max was 36 from our starters. Love that. And I'm not opposed to guys being on like a little bit of a, I thought there were times out there where we could have pulled the starters for a little bit longer and give them a little bit more of a break. But again, they went 9 to 10 deep. I feel like we could go 9 to 10 deep and
we
not
could play.
Really,
I agree with you. We could play Morris and Tristan.
And giving guys, different looks and different shots, I think are always important. You don't have to make a huge change up where you're going and playing both Morris and Thompson, but maybe give Morris a little run at Wagner for a minute there. Get Sam a little bit of 10
Just
and 10.
Make him feel something.
Yeah, right. So I mean, Niang's doing his thing, but I don't know that he's the one that I want to be doing all that. So
honestly, so here's like kind of the devil's advocate, like flip side of the coin, because Cavs take care of business game one. You win a game you're supposed to win. You defend home court. All things are good. But to look at it from an objective lens, this is from Cleveland Analytics, actually 9 minutes ago. Magic were an incredible 12 of 54, 22% on uncontested shots in game one. Uncontested. Suggs and Anthony, 2 of 18 combined. I wouldn't bank on the Magic just missing everything again. Cavs have to ramp up the D even more. Before game one, thought they'd roll the series, but this one is a close game, in my opinion. Cleveland Analytics, probably one of our favorite follows over on the Cleveland Paul's Twitter. So definitely an interesting statistic. I've been looking for stuff like this all day to kind of be like, hey, I know the defense was good. I know that it was there in spurts. And yeah, the Magic had a lot of possessions. I was like, yeah, they don't look very good. They can't even get relatively close to where they want to get to. But it does kind of look like they were historically bad from the field in game one, especially on uncontested shots.
Yeah, I mean, again, offensively for us, the key is going to be feeling out the three-point shot. A lot of those guys, Darius is a flow kind of guy in his three-point shooting. Donovan's kind of just like a chucker. Strus, I think, is in playoff mode where if he's just not feeling it, he's not going to force it on himself. And again, Evan, when he steps out every now and then, hitting that shot is crucial. But if it's not going, don't force it. And then again, you have the guys on the bench like Mero and Niang to, at least, go out there and give it a shot. On their end, I just think that they're going to have to consistently take more twos than they are threes if they're going to want to really beat us. And again, our interior defense is very stout. And outside of that, I think Darius, I always feel like our guards look really good on defense, even if it at times I feel like they get slow and a little bit tired, but they start out so well. And there were points where Darius was just kind of he was kind of going nuts a little bit, I thought. But yeah, I think it's just for us offensively, we have more firepower. They have to work a lot harder to get, if they get a lead on us, I feel like it's going to be way harder for them to maintain that than it would be for us to, flip it on its head. So
very much so. Well, kind of my closing thoughts here. Don't turn the ball over.
Nope.
Make your free throws. Control the pace. Just control the pace of play, man. You're going to win. Let them do stupid stuff on offense and just don't walk into. You can't walk into turnovers that give them 3 points because they're going to be pressed for points. These are going to be low scoring games, almost personalized guarantee. Yeah. So as long as you're not giving up all these transition points where they're establishing the paint earlier than us, or they got a mismatch on some sort of turnover, I think you're going to be fine and just weather the storms as they come. But that's all I got, Justin. Anything to cap us off here?
Yeah, I think at the same time the crowd's going to be there again. I hope the broadcast has whatever technical difficulties it had before in the first game. But again, the crowd is just going to be nutso. Logan, we're going to be looking for him down there somewhere. But yeah, for me, keys, I just think play your game. Play your game. I think Jared's the understatement guy where he kind of just sets that tone with the rebounds. Him and Evan getting them. Strus getting after it. Isaac needs to get after it. Karras needs to get after it. And just seeing the concerted effort from them. So, but just play your game. I think we have this series, in my opinion. I don't know. Did I predict it 4-1 or 4-0? I think I did 4-1.
5. You said in
honestly, after game 1, I'm feeling the 4-0. But
you're feeling the sweep already.
Yeah,
you got to win tonight, though. I agree. I agree with Logan that winner of game 1 wins the series, and I'm still on that. Like, I think that you can only be, your thoughts can only be reinforced by that game 1 performance. But
yeah,
like we talked about, Orlando could play spoiler here. If you go to Orlando 1-1, it's a whole different ball game than 2-0.
Of course.
But we'll see what happens. J Boogie, go Cavs. Totally agree.
You got a score prediction?
Score prediction? No, not really. Similar. 106, 103 Cavs.
I'm gonna go 101-93.
101-93, 8-point victory. Is it like close 8 points, or like is it like not that close?
I think it's gonna be close towards then.
Like we're only up like 3 or 4, and then fouls get us to like a 7 or 8 point lead.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think this is going to be a better game than game 1. Just by the nature of some of the numbers I've looked at today. But like we talked about, you never know. Like we could shoot 40%, 35% from 3, 40% from 3, blow them out of the water. I just don't think they have that capability as far as, vice versa. I don't know if they could win one of these games by 15 or 20 points.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but
we've been wrong in the past, but just doesn't seem like that.
It would have to take, the entire team shooting just halfway decently, I guess. But
we've seen it this year in the regular season. We've seen some random teams, just go nuclear on us. But hey, if you're here, if you're still watching, hit that like button. Make sure this gets in the YouTube algorithm on people's recommended pages during the game, leading up to the game, even after the game. We got tip off here, probably about 20 minutes, but it's been cool talking to everyone. Justin, great show per the usual. Logan, downtown Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, going to get us send me pictures so I can tweet it out. With that all being said, we appreciate you being the pulse of it all.